Yeah, okay. So just watching a video on Lee Camp show on RT. It's called Redacted Tonight, and I'm a fan of Lee, and I say, and that's my qualifier is I'm a fan of Lee Camp. Uh, I got to tell you, it was a piece on the recent DNC lawsuit with and Tom Perez, who is the head of the DNC, against Russia, WikiLeaks, and Donald Trump. And I've heard a lot about the WikiLeaks, uh, what they did with the Podesta emails and all that other stuff. But one thing I was not aware of was that the uh, the WikiLeaks had through that Podesta email, um, putting it out there, had basically there was one piece of it that basically said that the DNC with Hillary Clinton had basically pushed Trump into the White House, and so ironically, I had actually come up with a conspiracy theory that based on all this circumstantial evidence that with all these supposed democratic losses, uh, that it seemed to, I don't know, set up and rigged and purposely engineered and manufactured to make the DNC and the Democrats look like they're weak and ineffectual. Um, and a lot of people, including independent media, and even sometimes the mainstream media, has made a point of this. And there has been some insinuating that uh, that it's been on done on purpose. And my theory was that in fact that there is no difference between the DNC and the GOP, because Democrats and the GOP, and because they are one and the same. And this particular piece in this on the Podesta emails of the hack of the DNC servers shows that, in fact, that my theory has merit, because they did. They explicitly mentioned in this WikiLeaks uh, 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 in this WikiLeaks piece that the fix was in to have Donald Trump put into office. So with that and the CNN and NBC and all those pushing, giving billions of dollars worth of media time to Donald Trump, including an empty podium and all that other stuff, that goes to show that the criminality has gone beyond uh, even my suspicions. And so I'm sure other independent news sources will pick this up. If not, I think that's criminal on their part, and I would hope that Democracy Now! And TYT and the Real News, uh, uh, especially the Real News, because they have a tendency to be uh, more upfront about it. I think TYT and Democracy Now! May be a little bit pressured to go with some more of the mainstream nonsense. But at least Democracy Now! And TYT still do uh, do some actual journalism with and there and where there is no integrity uh, with the mainstream corporate media, which is basically criminal takeover. But that's not a new thing. It's been around for even before the founding of this country. So I I hope they will pick it up. I hope they will carry the ball, and I hope they will disseminate this information. Um, I got to tell you, this greatly saddens me, and but not just for myself, but for the greater American public. And I'm feeling a bit defeated. Uh, I've been trying to get uh, elected into the gubernatorial office in Pennsylvania, and my goal is still to get into the gubernatorial office. Uh, and one of the promises of my efforts is to be completely and utterly uh, transparent. And the way I'm going to do that is to have anybody, I don't care who you are, be able to take your cell phones, your video cameras that are tied in, and basically watch me 24/7. I don't care if I'm going to the bathroom. I don't care if I'm sleeping. I want every second, every nanosecond, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month uh, uh, of my life as a actual representative of the people to be on, so that there will be no confusion as to where I stand, what policies I stand for, and how I am going to advocate for solutions. So I want people to know that I do want universal health care. I do want living standards, and but I don't particularly agree with the $15, because that's a temporary fix, a band-aid on a systemic problem that without actually getting into the nuts and bolts of it will basically come back to bite us collectively in our asses. So uh, what uh, what I want to do is actually put in policies and actually review policies, uh, laws, rules, um, uh, statutes, uh, uh, to whittle it down so that we actually have common sense and common equalities for all of us, so that these partisan and sometimes uh, racial biases will have no avenue for impacting the greater whole. And the greater whole are the people, and the people are the movers, the shakers, and the actual power in this country. And we have to stop allowing criminals, who these con men, these snake oil salesmen, to uh, be put into offices and take control of the future of the country. Um, so, uh, but I also offer actual solutions, and I advocate actual solutions to something like I think a lot of us share is that climate change is real and that it will affect us in a very real impact that will bring catastrophic harm for us all globally. And the solution to that is generating electricity in every home, office, uh, apartment, condo, you name it, and basically using a an old simple technology that's readily available and that is inexpensive, but also will give new vocations and new businesses for those, as well as education, so that we can generate electricity and have it decentralized. So if this quote unquote terrorists ever get into the country, you can't knock out a few key central areas and knock out the electrical grid, and that just is sane and logical. But also, it allow the people to actually control the actual costs to their wallets and their bank accounts, uh, and relieve some of the financial strain that the people are burdened with. So, um, and the way to do that is to use something we all do when we go to the bathroom, and that is create methane. So rather than dumping our food in our trash, we simply dump our food into a slightly refined and modified septic system, and using a simple device, we can extract that methane to create electricity, also supply us with heating, and as well as heating our water for our hot water, and supplying new energy source for our vehicles. um, and using the money that's generated from this to open up a public trust, which will be controlled by the actual towns and cities, and the residents of those towns and cities, um, to be able to fund new businesses, new manufacturing, new ideas, and put people to actually to work, and not give you these ridiculous um things. Oh, we're going to create jobs by giving more money and power and influence to these private uh, entities and citizens who have no need for more. So, and the other thing is I want to set up a system that basically follows along lines of the new electrical grid proposal that I just told you about, where people, rather than sending their wastewater to these private plants held by private interests, uh, uh, we will treat the water that at the source. So in every home, every office, every uh, business and building, and using GE created this nano filter that was put out, but mysteriously disappeared. But that and NASA's a 5-stage filter, which actually filters out water to give you zero contaminant, um, zero particulates, and so and then the excess is bled off into the actual regional area, so multiple regional areas, um, so that the excess for both the electricity and the methane, excess methane and excess water will go there, and they'll be automatically transferred to those that use more than conventional, uh, more than average. And so, what will end up happening is that we will actually solve the issues and add that to a industrial carbon ceramic um, uh, industry that will basically be disseminated just like with the on the same lines of the what I talked about, the electrical grid and the water. Um, Basically, we could replace much of our pipes and all that other stuff uh, with uh, with this new system where industrial strength carbon ceramics made to basically almost like a your Legos where you just snap it together, uh, and we can use it to build homes, build pipes, build pylons, build cars, planes, trains. You name it. It is unlimited, and rather than deforesting our environment, uh, and basically all this other wasteful and expensive forms, we could do this as well as create new infrastructure that will utilize less land but produce more, and say in our food production. Um, and I think we should build up and we should build down, and with the level of innovation that's out there, and technology and innovation that's out there, we could actually have um, spacious accommodations, residences for every American, every person, without the need for all this gentrification and expansion that basically harms us all collectively. So we can give those who want more of the high end without sacrificing the needs of the many. And so there's a lot of things. So I'm advocating and offering solutions, actual solutions, as well as looking into policies that corrects our justice system, that gives us uh, universal health care, which gives us a high standard of living for equal high and equal standard of living for all of us, and has less of an impact on the actual home that we actually all in general share, and that's the planet. So understand something. Our houses, our residences are not our home. They're just where we reside. And the actual home is the planet. And we can't keep going around destroying the actual home that we all need. So, there's always talk about renewable energy. There's always talk about uh, responsible uses of resources. I am advocating actual solutions for this, and that is what I stand for. That is what I wish to offer. Uh, and we can't have any of that if the self-interest of a few have an unbalanced influence with the country. And the country is the people. And the people move the country. And the people are the future. So that's in a nutshell. And the fact that these private interest organizations who are actually criminals doing criminal activities, which any of us do, would face jail. We would get punitive measures, and oftentimes unequal punitive measures against us. So I think we all have to decide, are we looking for a life, an actual real life, and not just the pseudo illusionary life and an uncertain future? Or do we want to keep allowing the criminals to run things? Because that's what it is. It boils down to the criminals are running the thing, or to take a euphemism, the insane asylum residents are running the insane asylum. That's what it boils down to. And also, I'm in favor of actual free education from pre-K all the way up, and I'm an advocate for education. I don't care what the age is. You could be 90, and if you want to go to school, it should be free. You should be able to research what you want, because the more we know, the more we progress, which is the foundation of being progressive. It's advocating for progress. And we all want progress. At least I think we all want progress. And I hope we will all want progress, because that's what a progressive is. We want progress. Conservatism, often in my book, and this is my personal opinion, conservatism is asking to stay with the status quo and having no progress. And if we want progress, then we need to move forward in this way. This does not mean that we can't have our technologies like our cell phones and our computers. No, being progressive and having and wanting to move forward, with progress, means that we actually have better smart devices, things that make our lives and helps us in our daily lives. That is what progressive and progress and progressive values, progressive policies, that is what it means. Progressive means being equal with everybody. And when you're being progressive, it means that it applies to everybody. Being conservative means that you want to have favoritism for yourselves. It means you want to stagnate and you want the status quo. So, my name is Mark Mahan, and I'm trying my damnedest to get into office as the governor of Pennsylvania, and I'm hoping that I will get some feedback and support because I want to represent not just Pennsylvania, but the America, and thereby, in extension, represent all people all over the world, because we can't stop. We got to stop this. Stop this of thinking that that of countries and nations and so on and so forth, because we have to understand that what we do and how we do has a global impact. And I think the fact of climate change should be paramount. And the fact of possible nuclear annihilation should be the one of the two qualifiers to show how this thinking is detrimental for us all. And I think there are less of us who feel that this issue of race, because there is no issue of race. We have to understand we are all humans. If we get cut, we all bleed red. And if somebody says something that is nasty, monstrous, and hurtful, we all feel it equally and in the same exact way. So let's try to remember, blood in the body is blue, but blood outside the body is red. It doesn't change. And you don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be educated in universities or colleges to understand this. We all know it because it's a universal truth. And that's what we want. We want universal equality, universal truth. Because that's the way we progress. And that's what progress is, what progressives stand for. It's not socialism. It's not communism. It's none of the nonsense rhetoric, the stuff that divides us and keeps us distracted, stupid, and ignorant. And talking about ignorant, the root of ignorance is to ignore. When you ignore, you become ignorant. Ignorance has nothing to do with mental capacity or being dumb. It means you ignore reality. That's what it is. That's what ignorance is. And none of us should want to be ignorant, because that's always something that comes back to bite us in the ass, in our collective asses. That's what it is. So, as I said, I've talked about a few of my talked about some of my policies, as well as the actual solutions that I am advocating to for us all, and how I hope to have be a representative that is completely transparent. So again, my name is Mark Mahan. I am trying to get your support, and when I talk about support, I'm not talking about money, because I think the fact that money has anything to do with wanting to be an advocate representative of the people is outrageous and is clearly criminally corrupt. So I'm hoping to get your support, and I have some innovative ways to make sure that with all the fears of tactics used by the GOP and the Democrats and whoever else to basically to discount the actual will and votes of the people. There is, I believe, I have some solutions, and one is that it simply is, why in the heck do we have counties and all these restrictive statutes, regulations, and so on and so forth, when it used to be that, you know, when you went to vote, you went to your town hall, you went to your elementary schools, your high schools, uh, and whatnot, and you voted there, and so on and so forth. Why all this unnecessary regulations and statutes and so on and so forth? And I'll tell you why. It's because it was generated to make sure that your votes are meaningless, that your will is meaningless. So let's go back to that, and let's also use something else. When you do your votes, also put your name, your address, as well as the person you voted for in a letter. Put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, send it, put it in the mail, and have it sent back to you through the post office. So this way, and don't open it when it comes back. Hold it. So this way, voila. If somebody tries to say, "Oh, this person," or some media group says, "Oh, this person won," or there was a lot of vote manipulation and so on and so forth. Guess what? You can all come out and say, "Yeah, I don't think so. Here's my actual vote." So that's another way to make sure that voting, your votes actually count, and so that when the criminal corporations that call themselves media news come out and say, talk this nonsense, you can say, no. Here's the proof. Here's the proof, and you're lying. You know, those are just a few. Those are just a few things. It's food for thought, I guess. Anyways, again, my name is Mark Mahan, and I think I've pretty much run out of steam here to talk more, and I apologize for the level of clarity for this video, but I'm on early Social Security, and my funds are not My funds are completely absent here. So I know the hardships that we have to face, and I can empathize, and I'm hoping that what I've had to share and what I've had to offer, what I've had to advocate, uh, hits and gives you uh, pause to be able to think outside of the narrative and vote for your own self interest. Because I remind you, we are the power, we are the movers, we are the shakers, we are the builders, and we are the progress and progressive. Thank you, and I hope to get your support.